Aloha, y'all. I'm Lahaina Lee, and this is your Lahaina Recovery Update for January 2026. I want to start by saying this up front. This update is not about headlines or press releases. It's about what's actually happening on the ground, the stuff people are living with from day to day. What I'm sharing today comes from recent county briefings, direct updates from leadership, and reporting from the Hawaiʻi Journalism Initiative, which is doing important work documenting the human side of this recovery. This is me doing a little talk story. There's nuance here, there's frustration, there's progress, but layered with uncertainty, hard decisions, and a lot of waiting. Let's walk through it. Let's start with FEMA housing, because for a lot of families, especially our kupuna, this is still the most immediate pressure point. As of January 14th, 946 households are still being supported through FEMA's Direct Lease Rental Assistance Program. That update came directly from the mayor of Maui, who gave the most recent briefing on where things stand. He reminded us that temporary housing was never meant to be permanent. It started as an 18-month program, then was extended for another year, and now, once again, we're at a decision point. FEMA has issued a very short 18-day interim extension, moving the current deadline to February 28, 2026. There is a request for a longer extension. FEMA has transmitted that request, and it's currently sitting on the desk of the Secretary of Homeland Security, waiting for a decision. And here's the hard part. No one locally controls that decision. If FEMA denies the extension, the county and the state say they have contingency plans in place. At the same time, families are being strongly encouraged, some might say pressured, to pursue rental or purchase options now rather than waiting for certainty that may not come. Our people are being forced to make decisions without all of the information. There's also the question of what happens with those FEMA housing units themselves. Do they get removed? Do they get sold? Maybe they get transferred to the state or to the county? We're told a no-cost transfer has been requested, but again, the final call rests with FEMA. In the meantime, for nearly 1,000 families, life is still watching the calendar day to day to day. Now let's talk about something that did reach a meaningful milestone. The final temporary debris storage monitoring report. This was the monitoring of the debris from Lahaina that was stored in Olowalu. That report's been completed. That was a 90-day monitoring period required under County Council Bill 120. The results were clear. Air quality readings stayed well below action levels. Leachate levels never approached thresholds of concern. And rainfall was low, which we always need the rain, but that did mean that there was minimal leachate, and what little there was tested clean and was reused for dust control. Groundwater was monitored using 2 temporary wells, one upstream and one downstream. No issues were detected. Those wells have now been removed, and the Army Corps has restored the site contours close to their original condition. On January 5th, a cultural pule was conducted. Now that's important, not just technically, but symbolically. This is one part of the recovery where the data lined up, the process closed cleanly, and the community got a small measure of closure. Those moments matter. Thanks again to the Army Corps of Engineers. Now let's talk about housing, permanent housing. Here are the numbers as they stand. 116 permits have been completed. That means certificate of occupancy, people can move in. 339 permits are currently in process, and about 300 homes are under construction. But here's an important point to put those numbers in context. Approximately 2,200 structures were destroyed by the Lahaina wildfire. So while things are moving, the scale of loss still dwarfs the scale of the rebuild. That gap explains why so many families still feel stuck, even though the data shows movement. On the bright side, several HUD-funded and county-administered programs are now active, including reconstruction and first-time homebuyer programs prioritized for wildfire survivors. The first-time homebuyer closing happened just before Christmas. So far, 26 households have shopping letters in hand. Roughly 1,100 applications are still under eligibility review. The program ultimately has capacity for about 150 recipients. That means priority decisions will have to be made, and those will be emotionally heavy. Let's move on to Front Street and the harbor. Now, you may remember the railing along Front Street. It started to the north at about Cheeseburger and Paradise, went south down towards Dickinson, where the old ice cream store used to be. You know, a lot of people used to like hang on that railing at sunset and just, everybody would stand along there and enjoy the sunset. So that was scheduled actually to be replaced prior to the fire. So that project has been in progress and is getting close to being finished now. There are some stylistic changes being made, and native plant replacements are underway. The project is supposed to wrap up sometime around May, but Front Street itself, of course, remains closed, partially because there's construction going on the railing project. The Lahaina Harbor is open for limited operations and under tight restrictions. Highlights are that it's open at 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. No through traffic. Sailing excursion guests are being escorted to the harbor from Shaw Street. There's a 10-mile-per-hour speed limit, and large sections of the area remain fenced off. So, yeah, there's access, but getting back to normal is still out over the horizon somewhere. Now let's talk about Mackay side of Front Street, the ocean side, and maybe a necessary question about fairness. Now I want to slow down here because this matters. As a real estate broker, I feel compelled to raise a difficult but legitimate question about the Mackay Front Street properties. Maui County plays an important, though not final, role in shaping the regulatory and permitting environment that will determine whether these property owners are realistically allowed to rebuild. In a recent discussion with a person familiar with the property owners and the business owners on Front Street, I was told that the majority of those owners want to rebuild and open their businesses. At the same time, the county is reaching out to many of those same owners with potential purchase offers because they would like to own this land and turn the areas into parks or open ocean access available to the public. Now, even if every conversation happening is in good faith, that overlap creates an obvious conflict of interest, or at a minimum appears to be one. And here's the key point. Time is not neutral. Time is money. For owners being told they have to wait while the county plans to plan and wait while rules and guidelines and processes are still being finalized, waiting equals real money, real dough. Carrying costs, lost income, professional fees, ongoing uncertainty, and when it comes to time and money, the lever is largely on the county's side, while owners are being told they have to wait, they have to hold, and decide without firm answers. Once again, our people are being forced to make decisions without all of the information. That imbalance makes painful decisions even harder, and it's why transparency, clear timelines, and predictable rules are so critical right now. When you step back and look at the full picture, the tension becomes clear. Nearly 1,000 families are still waiting on FEMA decisions that might come down to a signature and a calendar date. Front Street property owners are being asked to make life-altering decisions without final rules, firm timelines, or clarity on what rebuilding realistically looks like. And while hundreds of permits are moving through the system, they set up against a backdrop of 2,200 lost structures. That's the scale of what Lahaina is recovering from. Progress is happening, but it's uneven, it's emotional, and it's slow just because that's the way it is. The months ahead will matter not just for policies and programs, but whether people can finally stop waiting and start rebuilding their lives with confidence. Mahalo for listening. I'll continue to track this closely and share what I'm seeing, not just what's said, but what it means. If you have comments or questions, drop them below or shoot me an email to lee@alohapots.com. I answer every one. And if you like this episode, give us a like and maybe send it on to someone you know who's thinking about Maui. And if you haven't already, subscribe to make sure you don't miss a thing. That's all for now. So, from the greatest island on earth, this is Lahaina saying aloha. Tony Brown produced this podcast. The information provided in this podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. It's not intended as a recommendation to invest in real estate or any other financial asset. We are not financial planners, certified public accountants, or attorneys. You should consult with a qualified professional before making any financial, legal, or investment decisions. All investments carry risk, and past performance is not indicative of future results.